Welcome all of you to this little channel of mine. So today we are going to talk about what came in the year 2014, a drama short movie about Leah whose story you will love. The story begins with Lee, a 16-year-old girl who has come on a business trip with her father. Lee's father is the CEO of a multinational company, and today he is going to get a very big deal. Lee goes to her father and sees that he is preparing a speech to get that deal. Lee says, "Can I also accompany you to your corporate meeting? I will live there with a lot of discipline." But he doesn't agree. Lee's father wants Lee to stay in his room. To this Lee says no. "Would you like it if I ran away with a drug dealer?" Lee's father says, "Don't joke like that." After which Lee's father asks while getting ready, "Should I wear my tie?" Lee says, "You don't need to wear a tie." Then Lee's father leaves from there for his deal. After their departure, Lee had nothing to do, so she started mending her father's clothes. Then after taking a shower, she disobeys her father and wanders around the hotel. Although Lee's father had forbidden him to go out of the room, but Lee needed a bottle of water, so she came out of the room. And when she was going up in the lift, a handsome middle-aged man enters the lift, who accidentally touches Lee while pressing the lift button. But Lee was happily chewing her bubble gum, and that man was looking at Lee's charming look after taking his eyes off his phone. His eyes were not moving away from Lee's face, and he was just looking at Lee again and again. Now as soon as that man's floor comes, he walks out of the lift, and then he looks back at Lee from outside the lift. Now coming back to her room, Lee sees that her father is already in her room. He asks Lee, "Where did you go?" Lee says she had just gone to get a bottle of water. But Lee's father gets angry at this and says that, "At least you should have told me. I told you not to leave the room. And he also told me that whenever you go anywhere, you should inform me before going." Now Lee admits his mistake, which calms his father's anger. He calls Lee near him and hugs him, and he says that, "I worry a lot about you. And that is why I keep shouting at you all the time, because I have no one in this world except you." Now Lee understands this. Then Lee's father tells that the hotel management has arranged a dinner. "We both should get ready and leave for the corporate dinner, otherwise we will be late." Lee's father tells him to change his clothes. While changing, Lee asks him, "How was your meeting? And will you get this deal?" But Lee's father does not give any answer to this. He praises Lee and says that, "You are looking very beautiful. Now we will just go down and come back only after getting a deal from those people." Now both of them go to the party, where Lee's father shakes hands with Tom and says, "This is my daughter." Tom had already met Lee in the lift. Lee's father wanted to talk to Tom alone for some time. As he was leaving, Lee told her father to come back with a deal. Now after his departure, Lee started meeting other people at dinner parties. Lee sees her father talking to Tom. From their conversation it seemed as if some argument was going on between them. And all this seems very strange to Lee. Lee comes to her father as the latter looked very disappointed during this conversation. And when Lee asks her father, "Can I help you in any way?" then Lee's father angrily says, "Can you get us that deal? And if you can get it for me, then get it for me." And just saying this, he goes away from there. Now because of being scolded in front of everyone, Lee started crying. And crying she reaches the terrace of the hotel. Tom was already present on that terrace. He asks Lee, "Did you like this city?" Lee wipes her tears and says, "No, I did not like this city very much." Tom approaches Lee, smoking a cigarette, and he takes out the muffler from his neck and puts it around Lee's neck. Tom says it is very cold, but Lee does not say anything about this. Tom asks, "Where do you live?" Lee says that because of her father's traveling, we live everywhere. But in the beginning, we lived in Switzerland, after which we started living in different cities due to my father's job. I have spent most of my time in New Zealand, where my father belongs. Then Christine says, "You always travel, so you never feel lonely." To which Lee says no. Because of traveling, we meet different interesting people. Hence we don't feel lonely. Tom likes Lee's answer very much. Now Tom was the man who could give Lee's father a deal, because he was the manager from the other company's side who could give the contract to his father. But Lee removes Tom's muffler and gives it back to him. And she says, "I have to go now because my father would be looking for me." And with that, Lee walks away. Now a corporate meeting was going on downstairs. Lee's father appears there and says, "Give me this deal." He is also willing to provide a good quality carpet at a low price. Then Tom tells Lee's father that, "You will have to reduce the price further, and only then can I give you this deal." Now Lee's father gives an explanation which Tom did not pay much attention to. He just keeps looking at Lee again and again, but at that time Lee was just sitting and playing with her handbag. Now Lee becomes very nervous while sitting in the meeting because Tom is sitting right next to her. And Tom's intentions didn't seem right. He started touching Lee in wrong ways with his hands. Lee feels this is all wrong, so she moves her leg away and looks at Tom while drinking water. Then Lee's father looks at him and smiles slightly, but Lee does not understand anything. Lee arrives outside the hotel with her father after a corporate meeting. Lee tells her father, "Tom, don't you think he's a little weird?" On this, Lee's father said, What do you want to say after all? Corporate people are like this. He makes friends with people very quickly. Now Lee's father was taking him back to the meeting, but Lee says I want to go to my hotel room. But Lee's father takes her back to the hotel without her consent. After dinner everyone was partying and drinking there, and Tom takes Lee to dance with him. Lee is hesitant at first, but after some time she becomes comfortable with Tom. While dancing, Lee calls out for her father, but his father was having fun with some woman. Now Tom slowly takes Lee to the other side of the party, and from there Lee was only looking at her father. Lee was very worried as to why her father was not stopping her anymore. Now while dancing, Lee and Tom were very close to each other. Now Lee becomes attracted to Tom, but even at that time Lee looks at her father, but he was busy enjoying himself and was not paying any attention to Lee. Now this seemed a bit strange to Lee, because he had never seen his father behave like this before, where he would give so much freedom to Lee. Then Tom kisses Lee while dancing. Even at that time, Lee was looking towards her father and her father was also looking at her, but he goes away from there without saying anything to Lee. Now seeing this it seemed as if his father deliberately wanted all this to make Lee and Tom closer. At the same time, Lee does not understand this behavior of his father. Then Tom asks Lee, "Should we get out of here?" Lee walks out holding Tom's hand. After talking for a while, Tom takes Lee to his room and gives him something to drink, but Lee still could not understand anything, and she was a little nervous. Lee goes to the window and has a drink, and then Kristen comes from behind and kisses him. Now Lee was a little drunk at that time, so both of them got intimate there at that time. Then after everything is done, Tom leaves from there, and Lee sits there alone. Lee can't understand where Tom went without talking to him, after which Lee comes back to the party hall and looks for her father. After searching for a while, Lee suddenly sees her father talking to Tom, and Lee felt strange after seeing them, because earlier there was an argument going on between both of them, and now he looks quite happy, as if both of them were celebrating something. Now Lee thinks for a while, and he comes to know that his father has got the contract, but Lee was also confused as to how she suddenly got this deal when she got close to Tom and me. Then suddenly Lee felt a strong shock, and she came out of her thoughts. Lee turns to her father, and amidst their celebration, she also asks for a glass of wine for herself. Lee's father then whispers in his ear that he has got the deal, and that's why they are celebrating. But Lee had already anticipated this. He sees that Tom is not even looking at Lee, he's just avoiding her gaze. Lee's father was cheering everyone, and then in the middle Lee started cheering her father. Lee tells her father, "You did a good job, Dad." Lee's father finds this very strange, and he tells Lee that you have drunk too much. Then Lee says, "I haven't even had a sip yet." Lee shakes off her father's hand and goes to Tom, and she kisses Tom in front of everyone. Lee's father immediately separates him from Tom, and Tom was just standing there watching all this. Lee frees her hand from her father and walks away from there. And from there she waves for a taxi. Then Lee's father runs from behind and puts his coat on him, but Lee was just crying at that time. Lee realized that her father used her to get the deal. He deliberately gave him so much freedom so that all this could happen. Lee's father used it, and now he is making his presence felt here. He is also saying that everything will be fine by tomorrow. Now Lee thought that Tom liked her, but he also took advantage of Lee. He just wanted to be intimate with Lee, and since getting intimate, Tom isn't even talking to Lee. Lee's father hugs him, but Lee moves away from her father, because after all this the relationship between father and daughter had ended. Lee's father says, "I have no one else in this world except you." You stop. Lee feels like crying after hearing this, but still she sits in the taxi. All she thinks about is that her father broke her trust in a bad way. Lee cries and gets into a taxi and leaves for a different city. And this story ends with this scene. If you liked the story even a little bit, then you are requested to subscribe to this channel. Thank you for staying with the story till the end.